Hi everybody, welcome to Annie's YouTube channel. My name is Katelyn, and today I'm going to be teaching you some tips and tricks about making the Creative Woman Kit of the Month Club, the Birdhouse Cottage, which is the most recent subscription box that went out. Annie's Creative Women of the Month Club, it gives you a different craft project each month that you'll get to experience something new and test something out, where you get an entire kit with all the materials that you need to make the project, minus a few household items that you should have around your home to be able to make some really great projects and test out what kind of crafting you would like to do. Today we're going to take a look at the birdhouse, and I'm going to show you a couple of the tips and tricks that I would use as I make my birdhouse to make the process a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. I hope you'll enjoy it. Okay, so when you first open up your kit and you look at your first instructions, it's going to tell you that a piece of wax paper would be really great for your work surface. And this is because as you paint things, then you don't have to worry about getting paint on your surface, but it's also a great idea for when you're sanding, which is the first step in your process. The reason I say that is because the wax paper can catch the bits of wood that come off with sanding. You can easily pick this up when you're done and dump it off into the trash can so you don't have a mess with any of the fine bits of wood that come off. Inside your kit, you'll find all of the pieces that you need to make your birdhouse, and you'll also find your piece of sandpaper. This piece of sandpaper is a small piece, but still relatively large for what we want to do. In my opinion, I prefer to take the sandpaper and rip it into smaller pieces, even down to this, and then I like to fold my sandpaper so that I can tuck my finger inside, giving me full control over what I'm doing. I'll then take my piece of wood and my sandpaper and carefully sand all of the edges. And what this is doing is, I don't know if you can see in the video, but you'll see in your kit, there's little bits of fine pieces that are sticking off from the cutting process. And we don't really want that because it will affect the way it looks once you start painting. So again, use your piece of wax paper to collect all the fine particles of the wood that are coming off while sanding to make it easier to dispose of them and not make a total mess all over your work surface. I also recommend cutting the pieces smaller so that you have more control, and then also you're not using as much as one time, and you can continue to use your piece of sandpaper for a long time. And then just make sure that all of the pieces come out as smooth as you can get them around the edges so that when you paint them, the paint looks really nice, and it also helps when you put them together. After you've sanded all of your pieces, it's time to go ahead and paint them all white. What you're going to do is you're going to take your paint, you're going to knead it, you're going to dump it out on your piece of paper or whatever surface you're going to use as your paint palette, and then you're going to use the paintbrushes included to paint it. For my piece here that I have, I did put 2 coats on it. I feel like it was just better coverage to have the 2 coats of paint. In the pattern, it does tell you to kind of draw your square for your window first. I preferred not to do that. So what I'm doing is after I've painted it white, I'm sticking my window on here, as I would. I'm using my pencil to draw around the outside, just like it says in the description or the instructions that you have. And then I'm moving it away. This will be my section that I'm painting black for behind the window. My tip for you though is, in order to keep your lines really nice and straight, why not use some painter's tape? This tape is specifically made not to ruin the surface that you put it on while you're painting, and it will help you keep your clean lines. My preference is to take a piece of tape and rip it into 2 pieces because you really only need the straight side. Then what you can do is you can line up the straight edge with your pencil line and make sure you rub it down really good because you don't want the paint to seep underneath it. And you will repeat this for all 4 sides of your window. Once you have this completed, you will then take your black paint and you will paint inside the window. You will want to remove the painter's tape as soon as you are finished painting your black section. The reason you want to do this is because if there is any paint on top of the tape, if you let it dry, it could potentially rip off the section in the middle once you go to take it off. So from here, you'll paint your black section, you'll rip off your tape. This can also be done when you work your door on the front of your birdhouse, which is the same thing, except you're drawing your lines around the door section instead of the window. You can repeat this same process on all of the sides where you have a window, and this will make it much easier for you to stay in the lines perfectly and have a very clean line of where your window will be. Now that you've prepped all of your pieces and have them painted and ready to go, it's now time to assemble your birdhouse. In the instructions, you'll see that it tells you to use some glue as you go to nail your pieces together. The glue is there to give you a little bit of a bonding of the pieces before you start to nail so that there's not as much slipping. You'll also be using the glue to glue on your windows and your flower boxes onto your birdhouse. I recommend using a ultra gel super glue. And the ultra gel part is very important because it gives you a lot of control over where your glue is going. Many times with wood or other porous materials, your glue is going to seep right into your material. With an ultra gel control super glue, it's going to kind of sit on top of your piece until you have it smushed together. It also isn't going to run on you. It's going to give you a lot of control over where you're putting it, and you really only need a couple little drops to be able to hold it in place. So you're going to want to look for something like that. You could use Elmer's glue or any other kind of glue that you have around the house. Again, it's more for tacking purposes until your nails are able to get in there and really secure your pieces together. In your kit, you'll find a whole selection of nails, which I've put in these little containers here. I got this from the Dollar Tree. It's just a little plastic container. They do come with lids, and this is a great way to hold your materials, whether it's nails or any other project that you're working on, small materials so they don't roll away. You'll notice that there's two different sizes of nails in your kit. The longer nails are going to be used to nail your pieces together, and your smaller nails will be used for some of the other parts that you'll see in your instructions. Now, because these nails are so small, especially the little ones, it can be a challenge to hold your nail in place while you're hammering so that you don't hit your fingers. You will notice that there are little pilot holes in your pieces where you're supposed to nail together, which is really great to help you get started. But there's other choices that you can use as well to help you holding your nails in place. This little tool is a nail holder from Fiskars, and you put your nail where you want it to go, and you slip your nail directly through this hole here on the tool. You put it where you want it to go, and now this tool is going to hold your nail in place for you while your fingers are nowhere near it as you go and hammer your nail in. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, I don't have one of those tools. What can I do? You can grab any kind of plier. This is a jewelry making plier, or you could grab one from your toolbox that you might have around your house. But again, it's just to kind of give you something to hold on to your nail so that your fingers aren't in the way. So I would stick my nail into the pilot hole as best that I could. I would grab the pliers in my non-dominant hand and gently hold on to it. I don't want to squeeze the nail because I want the nail to be able to go into the two pieces of wood, but this will hold it so that as I nail, my fingers are not in there to be smashed. So again, these are just some tips for you as you're working with your nails especially so that you don't hurt your fingers, and it makes it an easier process for putting your birdhouse together.